All right, we are now live. It is Thursday, January 19th, and this is our fortnightly community meeting for Backed Up CMS. Before we get into possible agenda items, we should go around and do some quick introductions. I'm happy to go first. My name is Jen Lampton. I'm joining from Oakland, California, and I'm going to turn it over to Luke.
I'm Luke McCormick, a web project manager not far from Oakland, California, in San Ramon, California, where it's gorgeously, beautifully sunny for the first time in weeks and supposed to be for a while. Let's go to Greg.
Hi, Greg. I'm joining from Greece. I'm gonna turn off my camera and go back to my late dinner, but I'll be silently watching the background and chiming in. I'll take it to maybe Martin.
Hi, I'm Martin, web developer in Northeast England, United Kingdom. There's Tim.
Yep, I think I'm last. My name's Tim Erickson. I'm St. Paul Tim on the internet. I am in Deerwood, Minnesota, where we're having a kind of a snowy day. I turned my camera a little bit. You might see the turkeys hanging outside today. And looking forward to going down and going to see some of my Backdrop Drupal friends in the Twin Cities this weekend and play board games. So I'm driving down there today. Yeah, so let's get started. This is our bi-weekly community meeting. And the agenda for today is going to be to talk about the new features in our most recent release. And as we have time, we might go back and also look at some of the other previous releases. Just to remind folks of what some of the changes have been in core in the last, certainly in the last release, maybe going back 2 or 3 releases. So we have an agenda as usual, and I pasted all of the release notes for new releases into our agenda for those who are at the meeting live. I have, if other people have other ideas, but I have a clean demo site that I just spun up on backdrop.org. I went to backdrop.org and used the demo button on the front page, click demo button, and in a few minutes I had a clean site. Just moving that out of the way. Oops.
Tim, can you do me a favor? I think that
Yep.
the artboard has not been updated, so this is running still on 123. Just can you go on reports and status report, because that might not work.
I was just going to check that. Yeah. You want to make sure that yeah, if this is so we do not have 1.24. Does anybody have a version of what, or I can spin one up on my local and just take.
I'm about to push a pull request so that there's going to be a sandbox available.
Okay.
Can you do the updates in the? Can you not do the updates in the sandbox?
Sandbox.
You can install
Yeah.
modules. So.
Should we actually? We can install
Let's try
modules.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, that
let's
would
try
be cool to try. So I've never done this. How do we do a core update?
Yeah, if you go to reports and then available updates and then where you were and then
Just download.
Click
Just install system updates there.
Yep, there you go. It's gonna work.
Okay, this is cool. Look at that. That's an inline. We the way our shop, we do all of our updates in Get and import the code. So this is. I just hit continue, right? We're waiting, but it looks like this worked just fine. So look at that. We were able to update the demo site. We have to run database updates. That's a good note about this update, is that it does require database updates. Excuse
Don't
me.
do the victory dance just yet. Let's see if this works.
Under normal circumstances, we should have taken a backup before we did all this. But given that there is no content in this site, let's go back to the status report. Look at that. We just updated a dev site right here. So I am still recovering a little bit from illness, and it seems like all this talking is generating a cough. So other people might have to talk more. But let's go ahead and talk about what's new in this version of Backdrop.
I think a good one is possibly the permissions page.
Okay.
Oh,
Let's-
yeah.
Excuse me, I gotta mute. Okay, let's go to the
Configuration.
permissions. It's under configuration, user accounts, permissions. Oh, look at this. Isn't this cool? I can type in card and get immediately to all the card permissions. What else can we try? Post.
Yeah.
Yeah, or
You could
by
also
module.
you could also
user.
do edits and see everything that's just about edits.
That all the edit permissions. This is so nice. Okay, this might be the most user obvious feature in this release.
And if you hover over the names of the roles at the top of the column, the header, you should wait there for a moment. I think you should get a pop-up, but maybe Zoom doesn't allow you to, because
I
it's not
don't
showing.
think it won't add it on upgraded sites because it
Ah,
doesn't
right.
know exactly. But for a new install, it would do that. But we can add that and then it will appear. If you want.
So on can we enable it? For this
Yeah,
site?
you can just add the roles yourself if you
Oh,
go
I
back
see.
to the,
So basically, we've added definitions of roles, and what you're
but
saying
only
is that
for
they
new
don't.
installs.
Right, they didn't get
Yeah.
added. Okay. So how do we add
Yep.
them? Just right here?
Yep.
Okay, this is for users that are not logged in. This is not the official definition, but it's the quick one that I just did. And I think now so first of all, we've got descriptions of each role. This is a new feature, right?
Can you do one of the other roles too, so we can
Yep.
see that on the edit form for the users too? Yeah.
Okay.
You can edit
this
content. Yeah.
person can edit content. Yeah, that's good enough.
Nice.
Okay, so now if we go to the roll page. No, we wanted to go to the permission
Okay.
page.
Wait, this is good too. So on this page, there's now a new column there that says description,
Yes.
and that wasn't there before.
Right.
And then if you go to the permissions page,
Go
Where is
back
that?
to user account permissions.
now you can hover over the column heading.
Yeah, look at
And
that.
the thing will come up. And even better, if you go, well, there's two other things.
Create a
If
user
you,
account.
yeah, okay, go to the user account first. That's more obvious. So if you just edit the admin account,
User accounts, sure.
edit.
Okay.
Where it says roles, if you scroll down, and now it says editor, this person can edit content, put it there. And there's a sneaky hidden one. If you go to a content type page, like configure post or whatever,
Sorry, like here.
go
Something
to the
like this.
permissions matrix, yeah, up to there, and now hover over the column heading here, and it appears here too.
Oh, okay, nice.
So anywhere we have a permissions matrix on any interface, you're going to get that same benefit that you get on the main permissions form.
Yeah, this is going to be a lot more useful in the real world than it is in like a plain install too, because I've been on a zillion projects where they have like a bazillion roles and nobody
Mhm.
knows what they are. so this will be super handy for like, you know, projects that run for years and years that have, you know, a changing cast of characters, and you know, instead of guessing, you know, wildly and usually incorrectly about what these things mean based on, you know, obscure names, they, you know, have a chance to know what's actually going on.
Okay, so I'm just gonna highlight the ones we've talked about. So this is a feature that is not, so this will have no effect, on existing, new sites will come with default descriptions for each of the default roles. So you'll notice that right away. If you have an existing site, it's gonna just add the capability for you to add the roles, correct?
Unless you were using the role help module, in which case it will copy the text that you'd added to the role help module into the new description for the role.
Nice.
I was thinking that if we the roles are being added in the profile, so we don't have default configuration to have a reset button and copy that. But it would be good if we had a way to check if they're empty, the descriptions, which means the role help module was not used ever maybe we could add them on new sites, and maybe that can be done for the new bug fix release.
But they get added on new sites no matter what.
Right. It's just the new sites will get the default roles. It's just
Yeah.
existing sites won't.
Existing
probably
sites
don't-
that have never tested it, so they never had any permission.
So no existing site will have ever had a description because this didn't exist before. So that test wouldn't actually tell us anything we didn't already know. But it's also a little bit dangerous to add descriptions to sites that might already repurposed those roles for different
right.
things. So we could test all of the permissions, for example, for the editor and see if it's an exact match for what comes in the
Exactly.
profile, but that might be a little too much work for the benefit.
I think it's fine to let existing sites have this if they need it. Should we move on? The next feature,
I
I
have a
think.
question about
Yep.
that feature, actually.
Sure.
Some websites have like a little icon they will put on the UI if there's like stuff extra information for hovering. Did you guys think
Hmm.
about adding like a little icon to say like, there's extra stuff here?
Yes, I love it. I think we have an issue, Greg might know about
Yes, we
this,
do.
to add a eye icon in a lot of places where we want to put more hidden
Yeah, and it's
information.
being blocked. I think that it's being blocked on the add font icon to core or something like that.
Oh, we could get around
But we could
that.
do it before that. Yes.
Yeah.
Just let me find the respective issues and I'll
Thanks,
Okay.
Greg.
Well, let's
can
focus
also-
on talking about the things we have fixed. Go ahead and open some issues, but not get too bogged down in things we're going to do today. Because we got some other features to talk about. Let's talk about the return to site one. Now that's one, because we did the update. I understand we have to turn that on. And is that a module or a setting? I don't see the return to site option here.
Is it under
You might have to go
administration?
to, you might have to go to the admin bar settings.
Yeah, admin bar.
Admin bar. Back to site link. So is this on by default on new sites? Or will all sites have to turn this on? Does anybody know? Okay, apparently we don't know.
Don't know.
So, but if we do turn that on, now what do I have to?
You have to go to the front somewhere. And you go
Well.
to some page and then
About
click, use like
pages.
There we
Yeah.
go. Now it showed up, back to site. So it should, I mean, anywhere in the admin menu, doesn't it? Okay, yeah. So the point of this is that if you're in the front end, right, it remembers where you were. Is
Mhm.
that
Yeah,
correct?
well,
Yeah, go
Yeah,
to a
so-
different page than the home
Yeah,
page because
So we'll go to like
yeah.
learn about,
Well, that
wait,
was-
no, that's not it.
That's outside.
the about page is good.
Or
There we go.
Here we go, the
Yeah.
first post. So now I can do something like list modules, right? And now the point is, instead of going to the home page, I can go back to site and it takes me back to the most recent page I was on.
Yeah, that's
Did
ahead.
useful if you're like working on a page.
Yeah.
Like, and then you click a contextual link, takes you somewhere else, and then you want to go back to the page you were just working on.
Right. Let's do that. And it remembers that if we jump around a little and go to a few different links. And now I go back to site and it takes me back where I last was.
Yeah, that's gonna be
Uh,
great.
Very nice. So, but for people who have existing sites, you'll have to turn that feature on. So again, that was under configuration, administration bar. What else do we have? Those might be the two most obvious ones.
Search
sort of-
index one is really valuable to anybody who's suffered from the search index problem before.
Actually, if you can spin up a second demo site so that we can compare it side by side, like the before and after.
Sure.
I was thinking about that.
Well, that's the
actually.
advantage of not having updated. And people can watch quickly how easy it is to spin up a demo site.
That's right.
This will take about 30 seconds if that. Somebody sing a song.
Or mention the issue that we were talking about before. It's issue 3707. There's multiple of them, but that's the one that's closest to what we were discussing here. Just an indicator of help.
Okay. So
Thanks,
here
Greg.
is our previous site. What am I looking at then?
Configuration. Go to configuration and then search.
Search settings.
Yep. And if you scroll down where the index is. Yep. So
Mhm.
scroll all the way down. Yep, and then go to the other site, the newer site, and then go to the same page.
Okay, what are we looking at? Somebody help me out. That help text?
Yeah. Also, see how it says invalidate search index,
Oh, wait.
and then
This is the old site. This
Yep.
is the new one.
Yep.
Okay, I'll freeze here. What are we looking at?
so try the same thing on the old site. Try the
Yep.
invalidate search index thing,
Okay,
right? And then you have a warning.
tell me
Will be
something about what
invalidated.
just happened. I don't understand
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, see how now it says 0% of the site has been indexed?
Yep.
And there are 5 items to index. Do
Yep.
the same thing now on the new side.
Well,
which is-
this one does.
Yes, does it in a batch. Yeah, you just
Okay.
re-index everything and that's it.
Okay,
So it will still run a batch job, but now your index is done as well. So
okay.
Yep.
Is that,
you don't have to run cron or whatever. So
what was the other option in that list? Like
Sorry?
if you click there,
Index
on the
only.
only-
yeah, instead of
Oh.
rebuilding deleting everything on the index and rebuilding it, you just, if there's the index is half built, then it just does the remaining items. So
Okay,
Plus, I think I think
Is
the
there-
language is much more user friendly. I mean, rebuild search index is something that somebody that doesn't actually know what's going on would guess correctly, whereas invalidate search index means like you're breaking something.
and it was a
Is
red
there-
button as well.
is there a way to access the old behavior?
Other than spinning an old side, no.
Oh, ooh, that's really bad.
Uh-oh. What's wrong?
Because like I've worked on sites where rebuilding a search index would kill the site. Like you have to run it on cron. There is no other way.
okay. That sounds like it's something that we might want to bring up in the issue queue.
Yeah.
Probably not going to solve that right now. Okay.
But if you go back to that search site, I spotted a setting.
So this is the current.
There's a
newer site.
number of items to index during cron runs. So will that affect it if you
Well, this,
if you do a forced rebuild? Would that then make it split up?
I don't know.
Okay. Well, it
So
seems
much
like
to
this is
test.
something we need to keep talking about or testing, but in the meantime,
Looks like we lost Greg.
okay. Yep, okay. Well, he'll be back. Let's go ahead and look at our list. Do we have other views handler, any of this something that worth talking about? Add description for user roles, we talked about that. Add a configuration option for database log message length. Make file access consistent with other entity classes. Add rebuild search index. I think we've hit the most interesting features for this new release. There's obviously a lot of bug fixes and stuff. We're not going to go through all of those. Let's go ahead and work our way backward to see some of the other other recent releases. In a 1.23 version, we added the entity reference module to core. Let's talk briefly about how that is going to work, whether if an existing versus new sites. I believe that is a setting that module is not enabled by default, is it?
No.
No. So basically what it does is it brings this entity, it brings this module into core, which was not before. It will have no effect on other new sites. That's the only thing, is it just makes it available. You would otherwise have had to download this module. This was one of the a really popular module. That certainly, and for those who don't know about entity references, this basically allows you to link not just nodes, but entities together to create relationships. The most common one that I think people are familiar with is a term reference, which can also be done with the entity reference module, but we do still have the term reference in core at this stage. So there's now two different ways to do that, but until I think the long-term plans would be to, well, maybe not till 2.0, I don't know, to replace term reference. Can we get rid of term reference in 1.0, or will that have to wait? Anybody know?
There is a plan to figure out how to do that in 1.0, but we are working on how to handle an upgrade path for it. Because right now, term reference does a bunch of stuff that entity reference doesn't.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. I think there's some feature parity issues, right? That term reference does things currently that we can't do in entity reference. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like the tags field will create new terms for us, and entity reference doesn't currently handle
for
that.
anyone that had entity reference on their site already enabled and upgraded to 1.23. This was in 1.23. This did disable the old contrib module, didn't it? And then enable the core module, or
I think you got a message
telling you to do that.
to do it. Yeah,
Okay.
If I remember rightly.
My guess is that that's not anything that's super urgent to do, but something that might be helpful just because down the road, the contrib module won't be getting updated, right? Whereas the core module will. So if you were using the entity reference contrib module, you check to make sure it's been disabled and that you're using the core module. That would be the ideal situation. Obviously, back up your database first before you do that. But that should work. There is an upgrade path, right? Anybody? Okay. I'm pretty sure.
If the module has the same machine name, shouldn't it just switch to using the new folder?
The module in the contrib location will override the module in the core location.
Oh, okay.
So you'll need to actually delete the contrib version in order for it to start using the core version. But I think they're very similar. So even if you're running the old one, you won't notice that until the core one gets an update or the old one falls behind. But I do think that it prints a message saying that the module has been added to core. So you'll still have an option to turn it off or to remove the old code if you want.
And just real quickly, once you enable the module, for those, if anybody's not familiar with this, what it does is allow you to add now an entity reference field to other entities. And so this field becomes available. If you're somebody who hasn't worked with reference fields, please check them out. They're a really powerful feature that can let you do a lot of cool things. And there's some great resources on the internet, but we don't have time to go into the details right now. In that last version, here was my pet issue, the new setting to allow comment titles to be hidden. Let's take a quick look at that. We would do that on post. We can see that, right? If I go to the content type post, basically in the comment settings, we now have this ability to click hidden. In previous versions of Backdrop, there was automatically a title field on comments. So when somebody added a comment, they had to give it a title. And there was a contrib module, which would allow you to hide that field. But we've now added that to core. So, because a lot of people really don't need titles on their comments. So you now have three options. A visible customizable means that the user enters their custom title. Visible auto-generated is the title is created based on the content, the first line of the content, and then hidden. There is a note here. Be careful if you're upgrading, if you're using existing sites, that your theme may not support this. But anyways, that is a cool feature that has been annoyed me for a long time, and from Drupal 7 to Backdrop. Anybody have anything to say about that? How about this is, I think, a cool feature, although may not have a be super visible. Is there a quick place to look at this, adding the new date widget? I'm not sure how to demonstrate this one. Basically, it's just a new sort of input widget, isn't it? That we can use when adding date fields.
Yeah, so we updated the like authored by date when we put the new date field in core, so that when you edit a post and you change the author by date, you get the little HTML5 element that gives you the browser support for the date type, but we hadn't changed it on the date field itself. And so this was just a follow-up to make sure that we were using the new widget on the field instead of the previous text
So
field
is-
select list options.
Is this it? Is this
Yep.
new? That's what's basically been provided new,
Yes.
and that. So we had this available in some places, but we didn't have it. It basically just lets you use this widget.
Yep.
Okay.
So it used to
Yeah.
be in authoring information, we had it there, but we didn't have it for the date field, so we just
Okay.
had it in both places.
So the date field obviously was there, but we just didn't have this particular widget to add dates. So this, yep, very nice. Taxonomy depth. This is going to be an easy one to look at. You wrote this one, Jen. Can we
So
do-
what this would allow you to do is create a layout and say this layout only applies to like the top level taxonomy terms. So if you had a taxonomy system that
Right.
was nested, you could have a different layout for all of the root terms than you did for all of the child terms.
Can we see this quick, or is that not easy? We would, if we went to a layout.
You need to
Uh,
create a
like a-
structured taxonomy, and you'd need to create a layout for the taxonomy term. So you can't do it
Okay.
for post. You can only do it on the taxonomy/term/% path.
Hey, is this worth trying?
You'd have to create a different type of layout than this one. I
Okay.
think.
So should we not do this?
Yeah, and I think you have to have the taxonomy in place too
Okay,
in order to
but
see it
yes.
work. Yeah.
but basically, sure, if you have, so maybe this will be helpful. If you can have, does backdrop come with using views? No, that's irrelevant to this. Basically, we can have a special layout for taxonomy pages. So if you're the pages that list all the content related to a taxonomy term, that's one example, is you can have a special layout for that. And if you did, then you could put a condition which said use this a different layout depending on whether it's a first, second, or third level term, right?
Yep.
Okay. Jumping back in 1.23, we then had API enhancements, which are a little bit hard to show. And to be honest, I'm not real familiar with these. Any of these that anybody wants to comment on? Okay. We have added vertical tabs to clean up the user account interface. I think that's something we could look at pretty quick, isn't it? Is that, or does it require adding extra fields
No,
before that kicks in?
you should be able to see it.
Okay, and basically you just go to any user, isn't it this where it is?
Yep. So we
basic-
used to have these on terms and
Nope.
nodes, but we didn't have them on users.
So region and language and URL were just fields on this page, and this page was longer. So by adding these vertical tabs, we just sort of cleaned up and made this a little nicer. I can't, this was in 1.24 already, so I can't compare it to that. But okay. Another nice update. Last one fixed.
So this also goes with the vertical tab issue, where if you don't have access to see all of that other stuff on the user form, like you might not have access to roles or you might not have access to the URLs, then we would still get one vertical tab, even if there was only one option. And we've just switched that so that it looks good regardless of how many items are in the vertical tabs, which is nice.
Great. 1.22, this was so we're back to, this would have been which January, February, March, April, the May release from 2022. this had a lot of cool stuff. Some of the stuff really visible. The most obvious thing at the top is we added these cards, right? That was this provide cards by default. We have a new card content type. So when you backdrop, and Drupal 7 always has come with 2 content types, page and post. And we added a third one, a card, and a card is kind of intended for content like this that, and we went ahead and made it visible here that, and we have a little link here so you can learn more about cards. That takes you right to backdrop.org. But basically cards are nodes that don't have paths. We just want to display them as a block or in a view, but we don't need to link to them. So again, these links here don't link to the actual nodes. They link off to their to resources. But this had adding this content type was intended to make this functionality more. It's the ability to create content types that don't. The other thing about this, I guess, that's important is that if somebody tries to visit a card, so I can visit a card because I'm not because I'm logged in. It tells me that only that because we added this view hidden paths feature in a previous version of Backdrop. But anybody, any regular user who tried to visit this particular page would get an error. If we go to an incognito window and we type in that same path, page not found. So anyways, adding the card sort of helps people realize that that feature is there, that this is visible. It also gave us the opportunity to sort of add some content to the front page or backdrop and have it look a little bit more interesting out of the box. I feel like this landing page on a new fresh backdrop site looks so much nicer now. Anybody else have any comments on that or questions? It's been not quite a year, right? So since we introduced this, anybody having any feelings about it?
I'm a big fan.
Okay. There were a number of great introductions in this. The next one, and this is a great one to talk about because it's one that you have to turn on if you have existing sites. So if you're anywhere on your backdrop site, starting with version 1.22, you can go up here to this little this page, and it'll give you a quick link to the layout that is managing that page. And sometimes if you have multiple pages, it's not always clear which layout you're using for any particular page, like the About page. If you're a beginner, you might not know which layout is handling this. You can just go here and it tells you that that's using the default layout. You can click on it. It also will tell you which theme is being used. And I never click on that. Okay. So there is this directly to the layout itself or the configure page for the layout. Actually, there's something that opens to the right occasionally here too, isn't there? That I never use or not. Does anybody know about that? I think there's something more to this feature that somebody showed me once. I wonder if let's try going to the About page. No, I don't know what that is.
Can you go to a page that has like a view, like the, I don't know, the content page?
That might be it. No.
Oh.
I'm pretty sure that little arrow means something, and sometimes something pops up over there, but I don't remember what it was. Keep an eye on that. But the thing about this feature is if you have upgraded an existing site and you're not seeing this, that's because you have to turn this on. I assume this is also a administrative toolbar thing, right? Or not? Where is the link to turn this on if people don't have it?
I don't know that that's a setting.
I was pretty sure this was an
Is it
example.
page links? Page links?
I wonder, let's turn it off and see what happens. Yeah, that's what it was.
We
So
can use
when
a
we turn-
follow-up issue to improve that
Yeah.
description. But
that description probably could be a little bit better, given that those of us who were created this issue couldn't remember.
That
That's
it
not
was
a
a
good
setting.
sign.
Yeah.
Right. Well, the reason I knew it was I was pretty sure it was a setting was because Luke, I thought you and I had a conversation about that you didn't know you could turn this on some of your existing sites, and maybe not.
No,
Anyways,
that's true.
there are sometimes we have these features like this that get added and that will show up by default for new sites, but they don't show up by default on existing sites unless you turn them on. So this is an example of that. Yeah, page links. I don't like that. That doesn't help me. Okay. Allow blocks to be disabled in layouts. I kind of put myself in the position of doing all the talking here, didn't I? So we can use this layout to get here to any. But let's go to the main. Let's go to the home page. I'm assuming this is a block, right? We know that's a block, and let's say we want to get rid of that at least temporarily. We can go to the layout. We can go to the 3 promoted cards block, and we can now disable that block, leaving it in place. In the past, you would have had to remove it, and then you'd have to place it again. But let's say you just wanted to get rid of it temporarily. You can now disable that, go back to the home page, that's gone, and bring it back quite easily just by coming back and clicking enable again. An underutilized, or maybe a feature a lot of people aren't aware of that I think is really cool. I know I've used this quite a bit since that came out. Anybody have anything to add? Okay, I feel like so many good issues in this one. Configure date formats based on time zone country. So this is for new installations only. And basically what this, can somebody help me the best way to, I think the only way we can point this out really is to go to the, well, actually there were 2 parts to this. If we go to configuration, date and time formats. So that we, for one thing, we added the date only format. I'm pretty sure that was in this release as well. Is that, I think it's not mentioned here, but I think it was part of that PR where we used to have just the 3 default date formats, long, medium, and short. And we added date only. But the other thing about it was that this is generated, the format for this is modified based on your country when you're installing the site. So if you are in Europe and you install, how would that go? What would the difference be? Martin, help me out here. Are you there?
Sorry.
How would, if you were
Yeah,
installing?
that's what you would expect to see in Europe.
Okay, so is
1901.
Is it that our demo sites are either think they are or maybe they are in Europe? Yeah, so the basically the year, month, day. Is that the issue? And if you were setting up your site in the US and during the installation process you said you were in the US, then it would set it up as month, day, year. Does that sound right to people?
I think it's so it's now the default that the day, month, year, because it's only the US that's odd.
Right.
That does things back to front. So
well, first of all, one of the things I'll let anybody that if you want to sort of go back and see the new the features in each release, first of all, we usually have blog posts on backdrop.org, but we also have release notes. And if you go to backdrop/backdrop, the GitHub repo and you go under the tags, there's release notes for every release. And if anybody is curious to find out the history of any of these changes, we list all of the new features with a link to the issue queue. And so it is possible to go back and read the whole discussion around that issue and how that got in. Some of these are very long discussions, some of them not. So if you're interested in more information about this feature, but basically, yes, it just changes the default format based on where you are when you set up the site. Now, you might not like what you get and you still have to change it, but you probably would have had to anyways. A lot of people were having to change their default date formats all the time anyways, and this is hopefully makes it easier. I don't know if we need to look at this. Well, we can look quickly. There's a new image style for that was specifically added for cards. So in the past we had large, medium, and thumbnail, and now we have a new image style as of 1.22 that's available. And again, we needed that to style the images for these cards. And but we think that's a useful image style that other people will want to make use of. By the way, there is a recipe for if this is an example, these cards are an example of a feature that you will not get on existing sites if you update. But we created a recipe. So if we go to functionality, list modules, and you Google install new modules, and you Google recipes or search for recipes here, there's a card recipe, which will add the card content type. And I'm not sure if it adds the image style as well. I think it does. But basically it'll add that card content type to your existing site. So if you like that and are disappointed you didn't get it with your upgrade, find the card recipe. Okay, where was I? We were looking at this. Have the ability to enable backdrop only. I think this was an upgrade, not something we can look at, but something for the upgrade process that allows you to upgrade, to make it easier to do the upgrade. I don't know, anybody here? You know, Robert had a lot to do with that, and he's usually here, and in the past was the one who always talked about this. But one of the initiatives that we're working on right now is always trying to make the process of upgrading from Drupal to Backdrop easier. And this module or this feature was added specifically for that purpose.
That's if you were using something in Drupal that requires a module in Backdrop like Entity Plus. When you do the upgrade, your Backdrop site can now do that enabling step for you automatically. Whereas if you just ran the normal previous Drupal upgrade script, it would enable, like the same module would stay enabled, but it wouldn't enable any new dependencies that were added.
I've had that explained to me so many times. Great job, but I keep forgetting. We're just going to look at this quick. Go ahead. Luke?
I'm just, cheerleading for it. I think that's a great, very usable feature.
Yep. If anybody out there has other things that they think we should do to help up and improve that upgrade process, let us know. This one, add a warning status to report if there are duplicate copies of a module. I don't think we can look at this right now, but basically that's just a flag that's going to show up on one of the report pages, right? That will say, if you have two versions, we sometimes, especially with, I think this would apply to the entity reference module, wouldn't it? Now that it's in core and in contrib, is that there would basically, no, it wouldn't apply to that.
No, if you want, you can try the issue. Usually we have screenshots in the issue just to get an idea.
But basically, there are certain situations where users end up with two copies of the same module. And this, look at there, Luke, you're the one who opened this issue.
If you scroll all the way down, you should find the most recent screenshot. I think I was looking at that the other day. You can scroll all the way up, just not all the way. There you go, hidden. But yeah, there it is. So you can click on that and
And this, we were just talking about how if you had entity reference in contrib and you updated to the version of core, you would have two versions. This now gives you a nice little message that lets you know that you don't need the contrib version or need to remove one of them. It's nice, fits nicely.
Would
I
this
opened
know,
this.
Go ahead, Joseph.
I was just gonna ask, would this know, like, if you had different versions of the module, like you're in a multi-site and there's like one version in your sites folder and another version in your like normal modules, would that give you a message there, or would that just kind of ignore it?
I think you'd still get the message. It would tell you you have two, but if you're running multi-site, you would probably know not to remove
It looks
one
like
unless.
that. I'm seeing the word multi-site here, so I'm guessing
Yeah.
that was discussed, but I don't know if we have time to. Somebody might want to go back and look and see what the effect this has on multi-site, because that was discussed there. Various improvements in the book module. I was very involved in that PR. We would have to enable the module to show it. Actually, that's a good one. I think we could do a screenshot from the issue queue. Let's see if there's something.
I think I want to point out we're low on time, just in case you're not tracking.
Oh, yeah, okay. And I'm gonna have to head out of here. So it did some things with the UI for like adding book pages and stuff. Also, this tab, we had some duplicative stuff where there were like two different links, one vertical tab and another. I don't remember all the details.
yeah, there it is. The
Yes.
screenshot for the-
Right, here we go. We had this outline tab up here and we had this outline tab down here, and they were duplicative. I'm pretty sure we got rid of one or the other. I forget which one. I'm pretty sure the one up here we got rid of because that was confusing. And then just added some nice features. I remember just having some real, what the heck moments trying to figure out, manage my book outline, and this PR did a job to make managing books much easier. And I think we're about done, because we do have to wrap up. It's time to end this meeting. We did really quickly the last two things. Add a link in the module browser to find each project. I think we could look at that really quick. That is,
Oh,
is that in the listing modules?
you just hovered over it. No,
No, was it here? Is it?
yeah.
No, it's not that.
Isn't it? Can we read back can you please read the title again real quick?
Add a link in the module browser to each module's project
Yeah.
page.
Yeah, then it's the module browser. So I think it's in the list modules, maybe.
Right.
No,
Yeah.
Click more.
Click-
no, go back.
Back to here, install.
Yes, click details. And then right at the top, view on Backdrop
Oh, there
CMS.
we
on
go.
all.
Oh, there it is. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, very nice. So just another way to help. I mean, we've already got this pulling data in and showing it, which is really nice. I don't know if everybody else fully appreciates, a lot of Drupal 7 site owners, I don't know if they realize all of this is here in the project browser. It's really nice. Last thing, add a setting to specify which views display gets created by default.
So yeah, that would be under structure, views, and settings, and then advanced, I guess. Yeah, there
Display
you go.
type to include by default. There we go. So that's when you go to create isn't this when you go to create a new view?
Yeah.
You can change it so that instead of having the page, it'll make the block the default. If you prefer that. I think that's what that does, doesn't it? You
Yes.
can change-
Yeah.
Nice little hidden feature that a lot of people probably wouldn't notice.
Yeah,
Anyways,
you
we
can
can-
disable it and have it not create any of these at all. So you can have it create both, either one or none of these. So you basically
Yeah,
select which checkboxes are going to be ticked by default.
but this is definitely a setting that if you didn't know this was added,
Yeah.
you would probably never find on your own. I know personally that this is the view settings. This is a page that I almost never, ever see. I forget it's even here. And occasionally when I need it, I'm like, oh, wow, this is, I'm so happy to realize that there are these settings because they sometimes can be really helpful if you need them. But most of the time you don't. And so you don't even know that's there. Okay, I think we need to wrap this up. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Irina came. Irina, well, we'll talk after the meeting. Let's wrap this meeting up.
I apologize. I didn't
It's-
realize that I promised to be here today.
It's okay.
Earlier. So we'll just reschedule my presentation for next week.
Well, we'll talk about that in a second. Let's wrap up the community meeting and then we'll get ready for the dev meeting and we'll talk to Irina in between. Bye, everybody.